My brother fired me the moment he became president of our family's luxury resort empire. "You don't have what it takes to run a business," he said, smug and rehearsed, personally clearing out my office like he had been planning it for years. I didn't argue. I didn't beg. I gave him a slow, sarcastic smile. He panicked when he realized I wasn't reacting the way he expected. While he packed my office into cardboard boxes, he seemed to savor the moment. 9 days. That's all it took from his promotion to erase 17 years of my work. 17 years I had spent building Crescent Bay from failing properties into destinations, training staff, managing crises at 3 in the morning, and he wiped it out in 20 minutes. I reached into my desk drawer and pulled out my grandmother's old compass, the one she had used to scout our first property back in 1978. Clay didn't even know it existed. He had never cared to understand the history of what we built. I gave him a slow, sarcastic smile and said, "Good luck with the Monterey renovation." His hand froze for a second. That $18 million project was hemorrhaging money, falling behind every week. He needed me to fix it, but I wouldn't be there. "We've brought in consultants from Ritz-Carlton," he recovered, his voice dripping with smugness. "They've handled properties 3 times that size." I nodded and picked up my box. What Clay didn't know, what he'd been too busy charming investors and giving keynote speeches to notice, was that 4 years ago, I had bought the land beneath our 3 most profitable properties. In exactly 10 weeks, the lease renewals were coming due. My name is Blair Hartwick, and this is the story of how my brother fired me the moment he became president, and then completely panicked when he realized what I'd been planning all along. I was 22 when I started at Crescent Bay, fresh out of Stanford with offers promising 6-figure salaries and corner offices. My mother, Margaret, had built the company from a single struggling roadside into a 6-property luxury resort empire spanning California's coastline. Everyone assumed I'd choose a glamorous role, investor relations, corporate strategy, something flashy for business cards. Instead, I chose operations, not because I lacked ambition, but because I had watched my grandmother build our first property through attention to the details no one else valued. Luxury wasn't about marble lobbies or celebrity endorsements. It was the invisible work that made guests feel cared for without even knowing why. While Clay spent his 20s at NBA networking events and investor cocktail parties, perfecting his elevator pitch about disrupting luxury hospitality, I spent mine learning how resorts actually worked. I shadowed our housekeeping director, Maria, at 5 in the morning, watching her train new staff on hospital corners and the precise way to fold towels into art. I learned to negotiate with organic produce suppliers in Spanish because our head chef insisted relationships mattered more than corporate contracts. I troubleshot HVAC failures during Christmas weekend when our Big Sur property lost heating and 200 guests threatened to check out. I spent 14 straight hours with our maintenance supervisor, Tommy, covered in grease and dust, jury-rigging solutions until replacement parts arrived. He taught me how to read building systems like a language, how to anticipate failures, how to maintain equipment to last decades instead of years. These weren't moments that made it into investor presentations or industry magazines. Nobody wrote about staying up all night helping kitchen staff after emergencies, or the training protocols that reduced turnover by 40%. But they mattered. They built something real. By 30, I had transformed 3 underperforming properties into destinations that guests booked 6 months in advance. Monterey was my proudest achievement. A faded 1980s hotel with good bones and a spectacular coastal location, mismanaged and poorly marketed. I oversaw every detail, from architectural decisions to the small touches that separated adequate hotels from unforgettable experiences. 600 thread-count Egyptian cotton sheets washed exactly 3 times before guest use to achieve optimal softness. Shower heads positioned to accommodate tall and average-height guests without adjustment. Lobby scent profiles evoking coastal sage and sea air. Subtle yet memorable. Training protocols teaching front desk staff to remember returning guests' preferences without feeling intrusive. These details drove occupancy rates to 92% year-round, while competitors averaged 70%. Awards went to Clay in board presentations, while I stayed behind managing the revenue engines. I created a culture where staff took pride because they understood their work mattered. Monterey, Big Sur, Laguna Beach, all my creations. My office was a converted storage room with cleaning supply odors. Clay occupied the executive suite with floor-to-ceiling windows, custom furniture, original artwork. I never minded. I measured success differently. Clay counted magazine features, speaking invitations, LinkedIn followers. I counted guest satisfaction scores above 95% and staff loyalty spanning 10, 15, 20 years. I counted the thank you notes from families, from couples, from returning guests. We were building different things, even though everyone assumed we were building together. That compass in my drawer wasn't just a family heirloom. My grandmother had driven up and down California scouting coastal properties with untapped potential. Foundations mattered more than facades. She knew that the unglamorous work of building something solid outlasted the temporary shine of surface appeal. That compass reminded me every day what truly mattered, not Clay's investor pitches, not my mother's strategy, not industry recognition. The work itself, the people, the foundation. Margaret was brilliant, growing Crescent Bay through shrewd acquisitions and instinct for coastal locations. But she believed sons should be groomed for leadership, daughters could excel in supporting roles. Clay, 4 years younger, trained in elite business schools, media, venture capital circles, groomed to be the public visionary. I was execution. Family dinners reinforced this. 30 minutes discussing Clay's strategic initiatives. 5 minutes for my operational update. My insights were co-opted. My name disappeared from materials. My influence eroded gradually over meetings and years. 18 months before my firing, he excluded me from strategic planning, questioned my recommendations in front of staff, reassigned my best people. Systematic erasure. When Clay fired me, packing my belongings with satisfaction, I understood fully. He didn't just want credit. He wanted me gone. He wanted the story to be exclusively his, with no sister complicating the narrative. He offered 8 months severance, checking his Rolex, a gift from our mother. I picked up the box with my grandmother's photo, Stanford diploma, and 17 years of memories. I walked out, expecting it to be the last time. But the next morning, the silence was deafening. No incident reports, no messages, no calls. Just empty quiet that comes from being erased from what you built. I made coffee, sat on my balcony overlooking Santa Monica, watching joggers, dogs, the ordinary rhythm of life, while my world had collapsed. A container ship moved steadily across the Pacific, and I envied its simple purpose: point A to point B. No loyalty, no betrayal, no history. Then a text from Sophia, our director of operations at Monterey. She described consultants cutting training budgets by 40%, eliminating turn-down service, staff devastated, Maria crying in her office after 14 years of dedicated service. My instinct was to call immediately, to guide her, to protect my people. But I stopped myself. This wasn't my problem anymore. Clay wanted control. He could manage consequences. I typed a simple response. Thank you for letting me know. Sorry you're dealing with this. Cold, inadequate, but necessary. The text haunted me. I imagined Maria, 40 years old, proud of her hospital corners and pillow origami. She had taken pride in creating spaces for guests to rest and make memories. And now, a consultant was telling her that craft was excessive. Then another message arrived from my mother. Lunch today, Belforio, 12:30. I knew the location wasn't accidental. It was not casual, not a check-in. I arrived precisely on time. Margaret sat poised, neutral, silver hair perfect, suit sharp, the embodiment of power. She said, "He told me after he did it. No greeting, just straight defense." Not reversed it, I noted quietly. She sighed. Clay believes Crescent Bay needs to evolve, become more corporate, less family-centric. I asked, "And you agree?" Silence answered. She paused, choosing words like one who navigates 40 years of corporate politics, the land leases. Clay doesn't fully understand them. I met her gaze. 10 weeks, I confirmed. My attorney had prepared new terms. Understanding dawned across her face, pride mixed with fear, knowing what was coming. Market rate leases, I said, voice steady. It will significantly impact operating margins. especially with monetary overruns. Yes, she nodded. We ate in quiet. Margaret knew numbers, knew the financial implications, knew I was taking away the advantage I'd provided for 4 years. She didn't ask me to reconsider. She didn't apologize. She simply understood. "What are you planning?" she asked. The question hung, sunlight catching wine glasses, creating rainbows across the tablecloth. I had imagined this conversation for years, the moment my overlooked insight became visible. I expected satisfaction or triumph. Instead, sadness mixed with resolve. Love for my mother mixed with cold clarity. Loyalty had only ever gone one direction. Market rate leases, nothing more. I called Rebecca Lansing, a former colleague who had left Crescent Bay. "The industry is already talking," she said. I needed information, discreetly. "Why Clay wanted me gone now?" She paused. "You think this isn't just about ego?" "Exactly." She said she would find out if he was up to something. 3 days later, she called. Summit Coastal Collection. He'd been building a competing resort company for 2 years, using LLCs under shell companies, wife's maiden name, and business partners to remain hidden. He secured development permits for luxury resorts in Santa Barbara, Carmel, Newport Beach, the exact markets we'd analyzed in confidential board meetings. He had been stealing our strategy, and more. 8 key Crescent Bay employees had signed preliminary agreements with Summit Coastal, contingent on leaving and bringing client relationships. Some were my people managers I'd personally trained. Sophia's text about budget cuts and crying staff now made horrifying sense. Clay wasn't just cutting costs. He was deliberately degrading properties while building a competing brand that would poach staff and operational knowledge. "You needed to be gone," Rebecca said. I closed my eyes, feeling the last piece of sibling affection dissolve. This wasn't ego or ambition. It was calculated theft. 2 years of planning to steal everything I built, rebrand it as his achievement, and destroy the family company. After Rebecca's call, I spent 2 hours reading every document she'd sent: LLC filings, development permits, pitch decks with stolen data, staff recruitment contracts, demanding knowledge transfer. Each page fueled anger, but also clarity. I understood exactly what I was facing. My next move had to be precise. Then my phone rang. Unknown San Francisco number. Marcus Webb, a Crescent Bay board member. One of Clay's business school friends, yet calling against his interests. "Miss Hartwick," he said, "I need you to know something. I'm calling against Clay's interests, which tells you how serious this is." I listened intently. He explained he joined the board to respect my mother's vision and my operational track record. Clay had claimed I was leaving voluntarily, burned out, pursuing independent consulting. The board thought it was a graceful exit. I corrected him, seeing now it wasn't voluntary. I described the lease renewals and Summit Coastal. Marcus's tone tightened. Clay lied. He scheduled a board meeting to propose selling Monterey, Big Sur, and Laguna Beach properties. On what grounds? He'd argue that my new lease terms made them financially unviable. He had a valuation firm preparing analysis showing the properties were worth less than reality. It clicked. Clay wanted Crescent Bay to sell at distressed prices so Summit Coastal could acquire them, operating the resorts I'd built while paying me rent for the land, all while destroying our grandmother's legacy. Brilliant. Sociopathic. And he thought he could do it unnoticed. I told Marcus I had documentation and evidence. He listened, anger mixing with concern. We scheduled a real board meeting. I would be there not to defend myself, but to present facts. I called Catherine Winters, CEO of Pacific Luxury Group. She'd tried to recruit me years ago. I needed discretion. Within minutes, I was speaking with her personally. I presented my proposal. Pacific Luxury would acquire the buildings when Crescent Bay sold them. I'd maintain land ownership but offer preferential lease terms, and Pacific Luxury would retain all staff with improved benefits. She studied the portfolio in silence. "Why not raise rent and keep collecting?" she asked. "Because my brother plans to acquire the properties himself," I said. She understood. Immediately. Summit Coastal, proprietary data, poaching staff. Audacious. Stupid. Corporate suicide if anyone discovered. My preference? Discovery after I secured the properties and staff. Pacific Luxury valued excellence and people over profit. She nodded, respect mixing with understanding. Let's build something better. Within 48 hours, Pacific Luxury's legal team prepared a draft acquisition proposal more comprehensive than I could have imagined. The terms exceeded current market value despite operational challenges, retained staff with better benefits, maintained service standards, and included profit sharing for property-level management. The legal groundwork was meticulous. My first priority became the people, not paperwork. I called Sophia, Tom, Alicia, Maria, James, all key staff who had been with me for years, who understood what we'd built. I didn't disclose Pacific Luxury's involvement yet. I told them to document every change the consultants made, cuts to service standards, policy changes, operational shifts. They trusted me, and I reassured them that their work mattered, that someone was watching, that their expertise would be valued. I preserved the culture I had spent a career creating, even under the chaos Clay imposed. 3 weeks after my termination, California Coastal Properties published an article highlighting operational challenges at Crescent Bay. Guest satisfaction dropping, staff turnover rising, rumors of restructuring, potential asset sales. Pacific Luxury's interest in prime California coastal properties was noted. The industry connected the dots immediately. Margaret called. She confirmed the board rejected Clay's proposal to sell. They demanded more information about operational challenges before making any decisions. Clay had hired someone to follow me. I almost laughed. He was so self-absorbed, thinking everything revolved around attacks and corporate warfare. He hadn't realized I was creating value independent of him, protecting people, preserving what mattered. Marcus Webb and I strategized. Rebecca found explicit contracts where Clay had offered 8 key employees equity positions contingent on leaving Crescent Bay and transferring operational knowledge. Industrial espionage, clear as day. I forwarded everything to Marcus, urging full disclosure to the board before any decisions. He called back within the hour. We scheduled a board meeting with me present. For 17 years, I'd built the operational backbone while Clay built a reputation. Now, we would be measured by what we actually created. The weekend before the meeting, I turned off my phone, drove the coast to Big Sur property, sat overlooking the Pacific, reflecting on the hours, days, and years I had invested. Clay wanted to steal it, rebrand it, claim it as his own. I thought about my grandmother, her compass, her integrity, her vision. I remembered how she built something from nothing, refusing shortcuts and deceit. I drew strength from that legacy. The morning of the board meeting, I dressed professionally, polished, ready. The Crescent Bay boardroom was the same, yet different. Clay sat at the head, defensive, prepared for confrontation. Margaret at his right, older, smaller, concerned. Board members neutral. I sat at the opposite end, portfolio in front of me. Clay opened sharply, accusing me of corporate manipulation, leveraging land ownership to sabotage him. Calmly, I replied, stating that I was exercising my rights as a property owner and providing the board the facts needed to make informed decisions. I slid folders to each member detailing Summit Coastal's competing developments, operational data stolen from Crescent Bay, recruitment contracts, and knowledge transfer agreements. Silence fell. Board members' expressions shifted from curiosity to shock to controlled anger. Marcus Webb spoke first. He questioned Clay on development permits in markets discussed and approved during executive sessions, permits dated while serving as COO. Clay's defense businesses explore opportunities. No conflict of interest crumbled when confronted with pitch decks leveraging Crescent Bay's proprietary information and staff recruitment contracts. Intellectual property, fiduciary duty, and systematic violations became undeniable. The board voted unanimously to accept Pacific Luxury's acquisition proposal. 1 abstention. Margaret remained motionless, unreadable. They also requested Clay's immediate resignation and a formal investigation into Summit Coastal's use of proprietary Crescent Bay information. Clay stormed out, slamming the door. I stood, not triumphant, but exhausted, grieved, and relieved. I had saved the company, staff, and legacy, but it came at the cost of destroying my brother's career. After the board meeting, I sat in my car in the Crescent Bay parking lot, hands shaking, heart racing. I had destroyed my brother's career, yes, but it was necessary. Marcus Webb found me there, knocking gently on the window. "You okay?" he asked. I admitted I wasn't sure. What I'd done required courage, but it also carried grief. Catherine Winters called an hour later. Pacific Luxury's legal team was ready to move immediately. Transition could start within the week. I looked back at the building where I'd spent 17 years, where my work had been erased, and said, "Let's start Monday." The following 2 weeks were a whirlwind. Legal documents, operational assessments, staff meetings. Catherine officially brought me on as Director of Coastal Operations for Pacific Luxury, giving me authority over the acquisition transition for all 3 properties. A title that reflected my work. For 17 years, I had been invisible, indispensable, but never acknowledged. Now, I had real authority, real resources, and real support. My first priority was the people. I drove to Monterey, arriving before breakfast service ended. Sophia, the director, greeted me with relief in her eyes. I explained the transition, assured her job security, and shared that Pacific Luxury would restore the service standards we had built, with even better support. She cried not tears of sadness, but relief, validation, recognition. I repeated this with Tom at Big Sur, Alicia at Laguna Beach, and Maria, the housekeeping supervisor. Each conversation was personal, honest, necessary. They understood someone cared, someone would protect the excellence they had built alongside me. Operational improvements came quickly once staff had leadership they trusted. Service standards were restored within a month. Consultants Clay had brought in were dismissed. Budget cuts reversed. Guest satisfaction climbed steadily. Emotional recovery took longer. Staff needed time to trust again, to invest emotionally in their work without fear of having it devalued. 3 weeks later, my mother invited me to her home in Carmel. Not for business, but personal. A vulnerability I hadn't heard in years. I agreed. Driving up, memories of family dinners, holiday gatherings, and countless conversations flooded back. Margaret poured 2 glasses of wine, looked older, thinner, lines etched deeper around her eyes. She began, "I owe you an apology that can't be adequately expressed." She admitted enabling Clay's worst qualities, making excuses, believing his vision justified flaws. She had sacrificed me to protect her vision of what Crescent Bay could become. Her voice broke. She wept quietly, acknowledging the 17 years I had been positioned as support while Clay was groomed as leader. I accepted the apology but clarified the truth. This wasn't just about Clay firing me. It was 17 years of invisibility, of being undervalued, of supporting a vision that never saw me. Margaret nodded, absorbing the truth. We talked honestly for hours. She admitted patterns she hadn't recognized, acknowledged my sacrifices, and expressed regret. "Clay," she said, still didn't understand. I understood that too. Some things couldn't be fixed, only acknowledged. We built a new rhythm of weekly dinners, honest, real, acknowledging wounds rather than pretending they didn't exist. 3 months after my termination anniversary, I attended the annual California Coastal Hospitality Summit. Unlike 2 years prior, when I sat anonymously while Clay gave a keynote using my work, this time I attended as Director of Coastal Operations for Pacific Luxury. Catherine gave the opening keynote, acknowledging my operational genius and cultural leadership. 1,500 industry professionals applauded, finally recognizing work that had been invisible for 17 years. Colleagues approached, competitors acknowledged, and the story of Crescent Bay and Summit Coastal had become industry folklore, a cautionary tale of family business betrayal and professional vindication. David Brennan, a longtime vendor, called. Clay, now in Arizona in commercial real estate, had audacity to ask me to rehabilitate his reputation. I refused. Integrity couldn't be loaned to someone who had destroyed trust. Forgiveness was not possible because responsibility had not been accepted. Margaret requested a family dinner with Clay. I agreed, cautiously, but set boundaries, truth over comfort, honesty over performance. Dinner was painful. Surface conversation masked under forced politeness. Clay attempted to claim the narrative, calling past events unfortunate. I corrected him. This was calculated betrayal, not misfortune. I left without looking back, setting boundaries I had never enforced before. Spring arrived. Wildflowers blanketed the coastal hills. Clear blue skies stretched endlessly. One evening, alone on the beach, I reflected. Revenge hadn't healed the wound, it revealed it. I could finally address the chronic undervaluing I had endured. I began building a professional identity shaped by my values, not family expectations. The foundation survived, and on it, I could build something true. Grandview Coast, formerly Monterey, became a symbol of renewal. Renovation completed under my oversight, service standards restored, staff thriving. Guest satisfaction reached 96%, the highest in the region. Excellence was visible, recognized, unfiltered by family dynamics. Weekly dinners with Margaret became honest exchanges, mutual understanding, replacing pretense. The properties and teams I had built now thrived in a context where their value was seen. My leadership mattered. My work mattered. My legacy was mine. I walked through Grandview Coast, observing the choreography of excellence. Housekeepers creating experiences, front desk anticipating guest needs, maintenance preventing issues, revenue exceeded projections, staff retention 94%, the highest in Pacific Luxury's history. Recognition was clean, untainted by family drama. Excellence, finally, spoke for itself. The foundation remained. Everything else was construction. I'd learned to build from strength, not misplaced loyalty.